With that, welcome to the live stream, everybody. I figure today feels like a good day to do a Sunday Fun Day live stream and just take a quick look at current market conditions, see what the MDX ALGO indicators are saying, go over some strategies I like to use when trading with the indicators, with Fibonacci's, just with basic chart structure, all that kind of stuff. Just a few things that I like to watch personally. The way I like to have the indicators set up, which might be different from what a lot of people have because everyone has their own trading styles. Possibly even get lucky enough to find a degen scalp or two on this stream. We'll see what happens. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Obviously, none of this is financial advice. This is trading the 1 minute can be dangerous. I want to make that very clear. It's not for everybody. That's just kind of the easiest way for me to show you guys live how I'm reacting to the price and watching charts play out live, because obviously if we're sitting there on a 1 hour chart, it's going to take forever for anything to happen. So that's just why I like to bring up the 1 minutes on these. But I also just like trading it. As long as you have, a system set in place, like yes, it is a degen time frame, and it can be seen as quite dangerous because it can lead to over trading, revenge trading, over leveraging, all that sort of bad things, those bad habits that we don't want to pick up as traders. So just use caution when moving ahead. But what I talk about, it obviously applies to longer time frames as well. I'm going to end up showing a lot of it on the 1 minute, obviously, after we get into the basic market conditions. And we'll just go from there. So basically what I'm looking at on Bitcoin on the 4 hour here, I have my 4 hour chart up. You guys know I've been quite vocal about thinking that the bottom is in for this market cycle, and that's not to say that we can't come back down, test some very low prices, but just on this big downtrend that we have, and I point this out on pretty much every video, but on this whole downtrend, we finally ended up breaking some of this very serious structure. And I know I was talking about this on PEPE when I am looking at shorter time frame scalps and stuff like that. I've been talking about just the basic chart structure, and that would be talking about this. Like here, we have a low, we have a lower high here, but this wasn't actually confirmed until we broke below our existing low. So after we set this lower low, that's when we can go back and find our highest point between those two levels. And that highest point would be our confirmed lower high. So that was a very important level in the market that I was watching. So once we broke above that level, yes, we're kind of just trading right back down towards that level, retesting it as support basically. But that was a very nice break in structure there, and something I take very serious. So I don't think Bitcoin's in a bad position. Overall, I think it's in a great position. I think it could be a rocky ride. I'm not saying we're about to go parabolic. I think we're quite a ways away from that happening. But I am expecting some higher prices. I've been pretty vocal about thinking that there's a chance we actually test up to some of these higher Fibonacci levels I've had outlined for quite some time. A lot of you guys are very well aware of all this, so I don't want to go into it too much here and bore you. But I still have a strong feeling that we're going to end up testing up closer to that 45 towards 50,000. 48,000 is exactly what I was saying. But kind of in the next couple months, it doesn't have to happen. I mean, we are currently trading at this important, what was a very significant support level in this whole area back here. This is a weekly chart, so this is huge. And to see that support flip into resistance would actually be beautiful technical analysis too. So, I mean, we are struggling there. It's absolutely possible we dump. But just previous market cycles, the bull trap has loved to be a little bit higher and kind of get into that yellow Fibonacci, which is my 618. And that's pulled top to bottom on the market cycle. So looking for resistance rather than a bounce. So that's just kind of an area that I'm looking for. And I really like the way it looks right now. I mean, yeah, we've just been trading sideways. It's been pretty boring the last month or two. But that level that I was talking about, that lower high structure, I mean, we're really just consolidating above it. Looks like we're kind of forming some sort of a bull flag above it, really. If we end up actually getting candle bodies closing below this level, that's where I think we're going to end up pulling back a little bit. And that's where we might see, some of these levels a little bit lower, or even really like testing our market lows, or this cycle low rather. So we're going to have to watch out for a few things there. I typically don't trade the longer time frames like that, but it's always good to have an understanding of what is going on in the market. Can really help set our biases aside and just kind of look at the overall health of the market. So as it stands right now, I mean, looks pretty good. A lot of this is going to be freestyling, you guys. I just want to take a look at a few random things, map out a few random trend lines. I mean, that's a perfect touch point here. I wouldn't be too surprised to see some kind of a third touch point on this line. That actually might line up. Actually, I don't think it is this one exactly, or maybe it is. Yeah, that would be the same trend line here. And this is the one I was talking about in my last video, not on the, or maybe I mentioned it on the live stream too, but my last video on my YouTube channel, I was talking about the fact that if we drop this little double bottom that we're trying to form right now, I think it makes a lot of sense that we would end up just dumping and getting a third touch point along this trend line, just because it's been respected so perfectly. Quite often the market likes to kind of give a hint at where it's going to end up. So quite often if you get those two perfect touch points, you're just kind of making a trend line where you're going to get some sort of a third touch point. And something important to mention about this is the way I look at trend lines like this. I know a lot of people don't actually like diagonal trend lines, and I do, but I keep them very accurate, like very pinpoint, so I do have to adjust them sometimes. But I count wicks, I count exact touch points, and before I'm going to consider some kind of a breakout play, because breakouts can be a little bit dangerous. Just because obviously if you're playing a breakout, your invalidation level is quite a bit further away than, let's say, selling resistance or buying support, or whichever way you're heading. But for me personally, before playing a breakout, if I was looking to, let's say, short this move down, I wouldn't be just setting a random short order down here, like a stop short, so a momentum short. I wouldn't be setting one if we just end up breaking this green line, because I would really want to see some kind of a third touch point, and like a very accurate one before breaking this trend line. At that point, that's where I would start to get very interested in taking a short in that position. And this is longer time frames than I normally trade to. I'm just showing kind of what I'm looking at in the charts here. But yeah, like I said, just trend lines I look for at least 3 touch points. Same with the resistance right here, and I've been talking about this line as well, that I do think it's only a matter of time till we get a third touch point on this trend line. We might even head there in the next day or two. And I just think that the market's kind of given us this warning. We have our starting point of our trend line. We got our second touch point here. I think it's only a matter of time till we get our third touch point. If we get a third touch point with some kind of a rejection, then break out and get a retest, that's where I'm going to be quite bullish and think that, hey, a breakout trade might be the way to go here. However, if we just get above it right now, since we only have the 2 touch points, I'm leaning more towards a fake out, and we're going to actually come back down to the downside. And just looking for a fake out level, that's where I kind of like to use the Fibonacci's. Just, okay, if we make it above this level, where are we going to go? So I'm just going to take this this smaller swing here, just from where we topped out here. Because once again, here let's just say with this very short-term trend here, we have a low. Here we have our lower low. Lower high would be at this level here. So I'm going to take my Fibonacci from this level. This is just how I like to use Fibonacci's. There's 100 ways to use them. But pulling top to bottom here and looking for a potential rejection point, I love the 786, 886. They are my favorite Fibonacci levels, and that's why I have that pocket outlined in green. So if we did just, this is our third attempt here at this resistance. If we get up there, if we just smash right through it, I just can't help but feel it's going to be some kind of a fake out where we test this level up here and then come back down. And then we kind of have to watch how we're respecting this downward sloping trend line. Maybe it does actually carry some weight there. I just personally really like to have 3 full-on touch points / rejections before a breakout when I'm looking for a breakout trade. So just going to bring up the indicators here. You can see I keep mine very clean. I don't actually keep a whole lot on my indicators here. If I just bring up my settings, right now I only have my trend 2 up, and that's on the hourly. I have my moving average cloud, and I have my take profits, tops and bottoms, and reversal warnings, and that's basically it. I keep it quite clean. You can see I don't even have my long and short signals. That's just me personally. I like to pick my own entries. But I do have some strategies with these W's. Right now, I mean, there's one strategy I have been watching quite a bit lately, just helping point out a trend with these W's, and you can see a bit of a warning quite often that if they start to change directions, you can get a fairly good snipe quite often. And right now, that's something that is kind of something I'm wondering about, is that we had this W here, and this one is slightly lower That could mean that we're about to have a little dump to the downside, especially that we have these, the bullish reversal warnings had also taken a turn to the downside here, one up here, one a little bit lower. Just a little bit of a warning there that it might end up trending down, but I think the fact that we also already got this wick above this W back here, I don't know how accurate that's going to be this time here, but it can be a beautiful strategy to use, even if it's just for confluence. Like somewhere like here would, obviously this is Captain Hindsight here, but just pointing out what I mean with that. I mean, we have this W here and we have a slightly lower W here. And that's kind of right after, you know, we dropped this little bit of structure here, came back up to test these levels here. If we bring up a Fibonacci with this little swing, I mean, you can see that's kind of right where we're getting to that pocket, that 886, 786 there. You can see that that lined up with that reversal warning there a little bit lower. I mean, that's a beautiful call there. Also lines up with the moving average cloud there. That's just one of those things where it's nice to have a few different things providing confluence with a bit of a trade setup there. I did not take this trade. But that's just a good example of those lower W's. Some of you may have seen me talking about that as some bit of a strategy in the channel there. So as it stands right now, I mean, on these longer time frames, it would take quite a while for it to play out, obviously. But I would love to see, let's say, to just negate the fact that these are going lower here, I would love to see a higher W set on the bottom. Like, let's say we just... Actually, ideally, what we would see is, let's say, a third rejection point on that resistance trend line, some kind of a pullback, and then see, let's say, just another W just forming a little bit higher. And that might just be showing that, hey, there's a nice little uptrend forming. So it's just a little bit of a warning shot that can be fired there. So something worth paying attention to. That's something I love using the indicators for, is just helping them really point out which way the market is trending. You can see it's been very just choppy right here. But even that, I mean, really, if you're using this as a scalping strategy, let's say we have this W down here and we have a slightly higher W right here. I mean, that was a beautiful scalp, really, to the upside until we got our next reversal warning. I mean, what would that have been when the candle closed? That would have been almost a 2% move. So with some leverage, I mean, in a small little range like that, that was absolutely a beautiful call there. So that can be a very nice strategy. When using these indicators. I love using those reversal warnings just as a little bit of confluence, like I was saying. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Let's just see what the 1 hour is up to. This is where we're going to start freestyling a little bit, because I haven't really looked at Bitcoin all too much recently. I'm going to zoom right into some shorter time frames here, and as well as getting into some shit coins. So if you guys have altcoins as well, feel free to drop those and I can take a look at some of them. Hopefully I have time to get to all of them. Depends how many there are. But yeah, just going to take a look at a few random things. Does anyone have any questions about the indicators, the way I use them, my settings, anything like that, before we just go into a little freestyling analysis here? Cardano, yeah, we'll check that one in a little bit here. I'll actually bring it up just so it's ready to go here. Yeah, so what is everyone else's opinions, let's say in the longer term, mid-term, short term? I'm going to kind of hop into some degen timeframes here as I start doing some analysis here, just to show you guys, you know, like I said, just how I'm analyzing the chart live. How I'm using the indicators to do that and all that sort of good stuff. So I'm going to hop into some real degen timeframes here, looking at the 1 minute. I see Stock Poker in here. He loves when I look at the 1 minute. So just as far as what I'm going to notice right now, just basic chart structure here would be... Let's just bring up array here. So let's just say, you know, we broke this low here. We actually had candle bodies closing below this level here. So here we have our low. And this is very micro time frame. Like I said, this is a 1 minute. So we have our low here, and we managed to set a lower low here. So our highest point between the two, let's say right here, that's kind of the level that I want to see Bitcoin break as far as a 1 minute goes to become a little bit bullish. That's just where I feel like this little micro downtrend that it's trying to form would be broken. As it stands right now, if we get some kind of a pump to the upside, and let's say some kind of a failed break of this level or just a rejection around that level, that would be an interesting level for a potential short as far as looking for a scalp. So that's something we're going to have to look for. I'm going to keep that line up here. If here, I am going to draw another line for that would be our current low. So that's our lower low. So just kind of, just because I know a lot of people kind of look at market structure a little bit different, and a lot of people don't wait for those levels to be confirmed. So just what I mean by that is right now, like I don't want to consider this our new lower high yet, because it isn't confirmed until we sweep our lower low. So let's say our chart, ends up trading down something like this. We now have our lower low. And then as it stands right now, this would be our lower high. So that's where I could actually end up dropping this level down. And then that's kind of the level I would personally be watching for a break in structure. But as it stands right now, we're still up here. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it can be a little bit confusing, but hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I know I've talked about that a little bit, and some people have said that they didn't really understand that before. And honestly, I didn't know that for my first couple years of trading. I didn't realize like you had to, break certain levels before new levels are confirmed and stuff like that. So that was a very interesting bit of analysis when I learned it, I thought. So I like to point that out. And things like PEPE, like I said, it's been respecting that sort of thing so well. I mean, even over here, I never got into a long position. And again, this is going to be capped in hindsight here. But let's just say as far as a very, very micro time frame here, let's just say, we topped out here, we came down, we set a bit of a low here. And then we ended up breaking that low. So now we have a lower low here. So at that point, what's the highest point between this level here and this level? That would be right here. So when we actually ended up getting a break of this level and getting a candle body closing above this level, you can see that it was actually confirmation that there was a bit of a break in that little trend, and we got that nice little pump to the upside. So it can be just that basic chart structure can be very powerful when looking at things like this. And that's exactly why I took this short here, because like I said, we ended up breaking this level, and then I was able to basically take a short here, had my stop loss above this level here, and it just went to the downside. It played in my favor, closed a third of my position, rest is still riding with a break even stop. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. I'm just going to go over a couple messages here. I tend to forget about the old Discord chat box here, so just give me a little minute here to catch up. You are rockstar fearless. Yeah, I don't fear a 1 minute chart. Moonboy Stu, finally we get to G-Gen Scalp together. Absolutely, Jay. Welcome. I tried to set up this stream a little bit earlier. I think it was a couple hours earlier than I normally do it. But can you go over your scalp settings again and the maximum time frames you apply those settings to? Yes. So my DGen scalping settings, and something I want to make clear about this is there is no magical settings that are going to make or break your trading. I mean, all of these, I mean, they're so customizable that like it's still important to go do some back testing, figure out what catches your eyes, because I mean, we could have the exact same settings in our strategies, are the same settings on our indicators. We could have the same trend lines mapped out. We could have everything the exact same, and we might trade it completely different just because of how we look at the charts, and everyone has their own strategies. So that is still important, but yes, I can absolutely go into mine. Usually when I'm scalping, I actually have this a little bit different usually. Usually my trend one is the volume weighted moving average, and that will be the 5 minute. And my trend 2, I usually have on the EMA 1 hour. And then as far as other stuff, I have the moving average cloud on double exponential. I think that's just what it was default. I have take profits, tops and bottoms, and reversal warnings. That's really all I use on my strategies. I keep my charts very clean, typically. Got a prior daily level at 27,590 since 11th of May. That seems like it's getting a lot of reaction. This looks like it's being backtested as resistance right now since that wick down. Let's go over to the daily. What do you say? 27,590? Very close to where my line is, I guess, hey? Something kind of like that. Somewhere in there. Yeah, I mean, that's totally where we are flirting with right now. As far as that structure goes, like what I was just talking about, what I would have loved to see is to actually have this wick go down just a little further, so that if we could have confirmed this as a lower low from here, we would have had our lower low. Then had we gotten a candle body close above this line here, I would have been quite bullish in that case. As it stands right now, it's not necessarily a break in structure if we close above this level. It could just be, you know, we could just get that pump kind of up to here and then get some sort of a reaction. But no, it's definitely a level that the market likes responding to. And actually from both sides, it's a nice resistance and support level. I mean, you can see that we were testing it as support all back here. Here we kind of found support, a little bit of struggle. As soon as we lost that support there, just nuked to the downside there. So yeah, absolutely an important level there. If we get a candle body close above this level here, yeah, I think it could still spell good news for Bitcoin, I think. Because that is a nice little double bottom that we got too. If I go over to the 4 hour especially, the way I like to do double bottoms and stuff is I like to do these boxes rather than just a single trend line. And I like to go basically, where have we bottomed out so far? Okay, here was our bottom. And I like to take the whole wick, basically. So this whole zone here, that's my double bottom range. And when we start getting those candle bodies closing in that level, and we're starting to see green candle bodies closing inside that box, that's a very good sign. I love to look for that as far as double bottoms and stuff. If we can get some kind of a bullish divergence, anything like that. Let's see, is there anything? A very, very slight bullish divergence, if you want to, on the RSI, if you want to go from here just up a little bit like that. That's one of my favorite trading patterns, quite honestly, is if I get a double bottom with a bullish RSI divergence, specifically like this. When I say that, I mean from, let's say, oversold conditions right to that perfect support level like so. That's just a very specific divergence that I look for in the RSI. And that's just, honestly, before I had these MDX indicators, that's the only indicator I really used was the RSI. And I just used it for divergences, basically. I don't necessarily think like, oh, it's overbought or oversold, because technically it's a relative strength index, which means that it's just showing that, hey, if it's up here, yes, it could be overbought, but it might just have a shit ton of buying pressure. Same within a downtrend, if you're down here, not necessarily oversold, but maybe just very strong selling pressure. So that's something a lot of people can get wrong as well. So I just used it for divergences myself, but the indicators obviously have, they have beautiful divergences and stuff as well. One thing that I would have loved to see with this, when I see a double bottom, for example, I love to see the oscillator 4 get some kind of a bullish pivot, and matching up with the oscillator 5 getting some kind of a bullish divergence. When you can get all those things lining up, specifically, well, and even that, we also have that reversal warning, which is beautiful to see that in a double bottom there. So that's some nice confluence there too. But yeah, if you had the oscillator 4 and 5 matching up with that, that's one of my favorite things that happens with these indicators. When you have everything flashing green at you like that and the 3 indicators are lining up, that can be such a powerful tool. as it stands right now, I mean, as we're trading into this resistance level, you can see the oscillator 4 is getting, I mean, it's getting pretty red here. Same with the oscillator 5. There's no big red dots or anything yet, and the money flow is still green. So kind of in no man's land right there. They're looking a little bit overextended, but they're not very clear there. So just be a little cautious heading into this level here. Like, that was a beautiful double bottom, but honestly, we already got that move up to potential resistance, so it's too late to enter based on that. You would already be taking a good chunk of profits at that resistance level if you were in that. So let's bring up the shorter time frames once again. I'm just going to erase this just to clean this up a little bit. So we have our top here. Let's see. And actually, so here's where you can really, when you're really zoomed in scalping, kind of what I'm doing on PEPE sometimes. Here's a good example of, hey, you know, we can even overanalyze or microanalyze even closer than just having our low here and our lower low here. We could even say, we could go as far as to say that, you know, we broke that level. Here's actually where we set a lower low, but then we set another one and another one. So if you're really over analyzing things here and looking for the microest of micro scalps, I mean, you can see that we had technically a low here and lower low here. So actually, after we broke that level, I mean, that did set a bit of a new bullish swing. But as it stands right now, I would be scared to get into that as well, just because it's that's really trying to force something, in my opinion. But I mean, that could be a nice sign there. Invalidation of that would be if we drop this level. Let's hop over to PEPE, where I did have a trade open already. I like to see this. As far as a short goes, I like that we did drop below this level as well. I'm going to keep that position open for now. If we get, let's see here, got a bit of a low here, lower low here. So I'm going to say our resistance is right there. And I mean, you can see that's actually, yeah, our lower high there. We have been respecting it ever since. So if we even get a 1 minute candle close above this level, I'm going to close the rest of my little scalp short here. See if we can find something new after that if that happens. All right, so that's where PEPE is standing. Let's hop over to Cardano. See if we can find anything. This is a chart I haven't looked at in ages, so bear with me. We're just going to do a little bit of freestyle in here again. We'll start out on the 4 hour. Like I said, that will be my box of support, just because that's where we kind of bottomed out there. Where would be our next? Yeah, we're facing resistance right now. We're trading right at resistance. If we got, well, actually, yeah, we're not going to be scalping on the 4 hour, but this is an interesting line. I'm going to slowly zoom in here, but if we got some kind of a failed break of this line, that might be grounds for a bit of a short. Just slowly zoom in. And I know something I've talked about in the past is just like a lot of people want to get a let's say you're trying to get a short, you want to get in at the very top, or a long, you're trying to get in at the very bottom. That's where, even if I'm looking at this level, let's say this red line here is a 4 hour resistance line, I still want to zoom in and see some kind of a break in structure on a shorter time frame. So that's where it's nice to come into like a 5 minute or a 1 minute. So let's just really overanalyze things here. We had a high here, higher high here. So this would have been our higher low, which, did we actually end up closing below that? We actually did break that. So that might already be a bit of a bearish warning sign here. The fact that we came right back up to resistance and saw this little rejection. Cardano might end up taking a little pullback here. It's not super clean. Let's just get real picky here. The reason I don't like this as a break of structure right now is just because before we had these candle bodies closing before it, we just got this wick. So it was kind of looking like a bit of a fake out, and that just kind of, it throws a little curveball at me. It just looks not quite as clean as, let's say, this candle would have closed down here. It would have been very clear to me that we lost this level of support, but since we got this wick first, and even though these candle bodies are closing down below that, that's just looking at like a little double bottom after a little failed break. So I don't want to consider that a bearish break yet. I'm actually going to delete that so I don't think that. And that might just be me being picky, you know, maybe that is the warning sign that the trend is shifting, but I'm just not confident enough in it to pull the trigger on a short there right now. If you have time, could you briefly explain the new moving average cloud? Let's just pull that guy up. I don't know exactly what determines it. It's just, I mean, exactly what it sounds like. It's a resistance cloud. It reminds me of the Ichimoku cloud, like just showing, rather than like these moving averages show a very pinpoint, hey, this is the exact average, whereas the cloud just kind of showing the whole range of resistance that we have. And that's probably what made it flip here, is the fact that we did end up losing that support that I was talking about. When we broke that, then obviously we have this red cloud forming and just showing a bit of resistance as we get up towards the resistance of this range here. So I don't know exactly how it's calculated or anything. I just look at it the same as an Ichimoku cloud, basically. I don't know too much about it, honestly. It seems quite accurate though. Like it's been very strong in these trends. Obviously, like when you get that cloud flip, it can be quite an interesting move. Like here's a perfect example, you know, flipped green, and yeah, it absolutely got a nice little pump there. Nothing huge, but again, as far as the scalp goes on a 1 minute chart, yeah, that was absolutely beautiful support. Flipped to red here, didn't really get anything out of it. Flipped to green and just went absolutely nuts again. So gonna have to see, is this red cloud gonna carry any weight, or is it just gonna be like it was back here? We also do have this trend moving average that would be a little bit of resistance. We have these W's. These W's, this is one of those cases where, hey, even though these are the bearish ones, we do have a higher W than the previous one. So that might just be, and not to take this as its own thing here, I just want to look at this specifically as a bit of a warning that, hey, the trend might be going higher. We're not setting those lower high W's at this point. More how to use the cloud. I would say, honestly, I just look at it as more confluence. I don't know if there's a way specifically that anybody's back tested it with a lot of luck or anything. I just kind of look at it as, hey, here's more confluence that this is a bit of support or resistance lining up with whatever else I'm looking at, right? Just a bit of confluence. I've never developed a strategy around this cloud or anything like that. I'm sure there's probably people who have, or there probably is the possibility. I've just never done much back testing with it yet. But yeah, you know, and that's one of those things where going back and back testing, you might be able to find something very interesting in it. Like, let's say something to do with the W's when you get a bearish reversal warning inside a red cloud. You know, maybe that's a very accurate signal. I'm not saying it is for sure because, like I said, I haven't back tested it. But that's one of those things where if it's something that interests you, definitely go back and see just how it lines up with confluence on other trade signals and stuff. Pepe still really struggling with that resistance line. I want to kind of keep my eye on this right now just because if I, like I said, if I get a 1 minute candle body closing above this, I'm actually going to close my short, maybe actually even take a long. Let's see, what do we all have going for us here? We have a high, a higher high, higher high. This would kind of be our higher low right here. So that's a nice little double bottom territory that we got a little bounce off there. And then, like I said, we had this low here, lower low here. This would be our lower high. This is very micro analyzing. It's a little bit messy, and but that's just kind of how I'm looking at it right now. So yeah, if we get a break above that, I'm gonna actually considering flip into a long. Just gonna bring up my exchange on my phone. I've been trading these shit coins on MEXC exchange. Being in Canada, a lot of exchanges are starting to give us a hard time with leverage trading. I was able to start an account on MEXC with no KYC. I did have to have a VPN activated. But that's where I've been trading it. So I'm just loading that up on my phone right now so I can be ready to take a position if I want to get into a long, close my short and get into a long here. But like I said, I need a candle body actually closing above this level first. If you switch on the demand supply zone, it looks quite helpful at the moment on the 5 minute. Let's just do that. Let's bring up BTC, hop over to the 5 minute. The supply demand zone, you said? Yeah, let's bring that up. This can be super helpful too. For people who, especially people like me who like degen scalping such short time frames, sometimes you have to update your support and resistance so much that it can be annoying when it's switching so drastically every couple minutes. So this is nice that these supply demand zones just basically map it out the way that I would also map things out, and just does it automatically. And what I mean by that, I mean look at where it's showing this box here. Hopefully you can see it. It's pretty dim, but there's a bit of a green demand zone there. And notice that that would be the way I just described structure to you guys in this whole video here. This would be that higher low structure because I have a high here and we broke it, got a higher high there. What's the lowest point between the two? That's our higher low. And that's mapping out that support box right where I would based on that chart structure. So it is very neat that it can bring things up exactly like that automatically. Quite often it brings up so many support and resistance boxes, or supply demand zones rather. It brings up so many that, like I said, I usually like having a very clean chart. So that's why I don't have this activated too often when I'm doing these streams, but I really do like this feature as well. Really even going back all the way to this very low demand zone over here, kind of the same thing, right? Like what caused that? Well, we had our high here, we broke it, got a higher high, and then it created this support or demand zone, whichever you want to call it, the skinny green box right here. So very cool how it automatically basically maps out my higher lows, higher highs, stuff, lower lows, lower highs. It just automatically maps out that kind of stuff, which is neat. Why do I think Pepe hasn't pumped today with the BTC rally? I don't have much of an opinion there. I would say, I want to say because it's a shitcoin. I've been mostly focused on Pepe lately. I've barely been looking at Bitcoin just because Pepe has been, well, it's a meme coin. It's super volatile. So I've been mostly scalping this. But I have no emotional attachment to it. I don't know if it will go straight to zero or if it will absolutely go nuts this bull market. I don't know. I'm just kind of trading it swing by swing on very short time frames. I'm never in a position very long on this one because I just don't trust it. But yeah, BTC, it definitely did have that nice rally, hey? So my guess is going to be then, yeah, eventually the shit coins are probably going to follow. My guess is what'll happen is Bitcoin will kind of do its thing. It'll pump. The focus will be on Bitcoin for a little while. And then as soon as it actually like, well, as you guys know, I like to say, as soon as Bitcoin actually calms its titties and just kind of consolidates sideways for a good amount of time, that's kind of the green light that, hey, the market isn't panic selling off. The market isn't totally just immediately reversing the gains or anything like that. So if Bitcoin can kind of hold its ground after making some gains, that's where investors and traders kind of gain that confidence and they can start diversifying, right? So that's where you see quite often that Bitcoin has its moment in the sun. And then after it's become stable after some gains, that's where the shit coins start to really take off. So that's definitely something worth watching. How is Bitcoin doing here? Yeah, if it just starts kind of trending sideways for, like, let's say several hours even, I think that'll be a bit of a green light for shitcoins to then take off. But we'll have to see. We are trading right at a supply zone right now that the indicator has mapped out. So there again, very interesting, right? On the 1 hour chart here, mapped out this supply zone basically right where our resistance would be. I mean, this right here is where we've topped out in this little range here, and that's the top of our box. So very cool how it automatically does that. Man, it is just hugging that trend line. I also don't know, MEXC might not have the best trade volume on Pepe. Bybit might have a little more accurate, or the chart might look a little cleaner or whatever. But this is where I have my trade open on, so that's why I want to look at this chart. Back to Cardano. Yeah, Cardano's looking weak. You know, the cloud has flipped red. Even with this bullish reversal warning, it's really not gaining much. The fact that we dropped this little range here, yeah, you know, Cardano might go for a little tumble. I wouldn't be too surprised to see it tumble down and kind of retest the trend down here. Like I said, there is a chance that this right here was an early warning sign that we broke that structure. It was just unclean, so I'm a little hesitant on it, but it is looking a little weak. I'll give it that. I also haven't been trading Cardano much, so like, you do, as you trade specific coins, you do tend to just get a little more familiar with them and how they act and things that they do respect or don't respect much. And that's kind of why I've been loving trading Pepe lately, is because, like I said, just this basic chart structure it's been respecting so well. Cardano very well may be doing the same thing. I just haven't been watching it for several months, so I can't tell you for sure, but most things do basically follow each other, do the same patterns, follow the same technicals. Is anyone else in any positions? Long, short, scalps, swings, bullish, bearish? What's everyone feeling? I really can't help but feel that Bitcoin is on its way to test this red trend line. It's just a theory at this point, but I really feel like either, you know, tonight, tomorrow, maybe Tuesday, I would not be too surprised to see this red trend line tested again. Short on AGIX, closed long, building a short position as my confidence grows. So we're all feeling a little bearish, hey? Another thing, what's the dashboard saying? Okay, retail is quite long still, so that could definitely be some more fuel to the downside. What are we looking at as far as basic structure goes here? Low, lower, low. As far as this current little 4-hour swing goes, I'm kind of looking at this as the lower high. Actually, no. No, because I think that would have been more like low, lower, low. That would have been our lower high. But after we broke this, yeah, we're more looking like right about there. Which is right where the chart is struggling. So yeah, that makes sense. I do have the time frame on the dashboard here set to 24 hours. It's still quite long there. Unless this hasn't updated or something. Oh, change it to the 5-minute. I gotcha. Yeah, that's a lot more close. A lot more closer. Still a little bit long, but not too bad. Yeah, Pepe's just struggling with that level. Let's see what the indicators are saying. We don't have another W up here, so we never did get a lower one there. Yeah, not many reversal warnings recently. So this would be one of those times if, let's say, looking for a lower W, just looking for the confirmation on the algos for a trend there. If we get some kind of a drop down, let's say test my support box once again, get a little bit of a bounce, set a lower high with another W here, for example, and they would be trending to the downside, that would be a very good warning that, hey, the price may be ready to take another tumble. Obviously doesn't have to, but that's just... I like to look out for those. In the past, those have been quite accurate on some of the shorter time frames. When you notice that the directions of those W's change, it can be quite powerful confluence. BTC, there's also a yearly key level from 2021 at 27,744. Let's bring up this chart. 2021, you say? Or with a yearly chart? What level did he say? 27,744. Yeah, very, very important level. That's kind of that whole, well, yeah, basically the bottom of my macro support box here, which we've been fighting with. Yeah, you know, like as far as basic technical analysis goes, I mean, this would be an absolutely perfect level for Bitcoin to just get shit on. To see such a strong level of support like this from that entire half of the first half of the bear market, basically, or just the consolidation, whatever you want to call that. A very important level there. And to see that support flip into resistance would be perfect technicals. I just can't help but feel the same that I basically felt at these levels. I was in the market from basically right here. I was one of the suckers who bought the very top on the, not this last bull market, but the one before, and learned a lot of valuable lessons on the way. And one of those lessons was at this level where I thought this was such an obvious level that would flip into resistance, and then we just ended up blasting through it and tagged that higher Fibonacci level. And that's kind of, it's given me a little bit of PTSD, and that's why I keep talking about this 48k level, that I think there's a chance that we actually do blow through, hit that level. Because I know, like, a lot of people in this space have been basically calling for a bull trap ever since this level, basically. And we've continued to trend higher, and I just can't help but feel the actual bull market, the bull trap, is going to be much higher than what a lot of people think. Not only is it that same Fibonacci, it would blindside a lot of people. It matches up with this structure back here. There's a lot of things going for that level. And I know I've mentioned this on many of my videos before, so sorry to sound like a broken record, but if this was any chart other than a weekly, if this was a 5-minute chart, a 15-minute chart, an hourly, a 4-hourly chart, nobody would blink an eye at the fact that, yeah, it makes a lot of sense we would end up testing this structure up here. Just the fact that it's such a zoomed out time frame, and this is a weekly, and it's going to take so long to play out. People just can't fathom the idea that we could get all the way up to these levels. But if you ignored all these numbers on the side, let's say that there's no prices here that you can see, and this was just a basic chart. In fact, let's just remove drawings and just pretend none of those prices are on the right side. I mean, does it seem totally unrealistic that a chart could get to this level? I mean, that would just be a pullback. That would just be a correction, and no one would think twice. But since it's such a large time frame, it's a very big number that's changing as far as the price goes. And it just seems unfathomable. But it's, it's something that can definitely happen. The market doesn't give a shit what we think or what we think is possible. So that's just something that's definitely, well, it is possible. Anything's possible in the charts. So you just got to be ready for anything. Yes, I am recording, so this will be posted onto my YouTube channel after, probably a few hours after we wrap up here. It usually takes a little while to upload. Let's get back to the 1 minute on Bitcoin, see what it's doing. Like the degens that we are, right? You know, like even here's kind of an example like that too. So let's just say we did break that level. So like I said, technically we did break this lower high here. But then on this trend here, I mean, you can see here, let's just, so here we set a high, we set a higher high. Our higher low between the two would have been this level, and you can see that we actually did break below that. So, I mean, that might also be an early warning sign that we're about to take a dump, and just, even if we just test back down to this support back here, this just might be an early warning sign about that. So that's just how I kind of like to look at that higher high, higher low, lower high, lower low type of structure. Hopefully that's making sense. I keep talking about it because I think it's a very important part about technical analysis. I think a lot of people overlook that basic structure. Low wick 27. This one here. Yeah. From the previous breakout. So you're talking probably from here? something like so, or pulled from closer to here. There we go. Yeah, that lines up pretty darn good. I've personally been giving preference to these fibs that are a little bit further. For one, I just find like they've been respected so well recently. Well, not even just recently, just like this whole market cycle. I've seen those fibs be respected so well. But also, if you end up getting into a position, let's say you're looking for a long, so you're looking for a pullback to some of those fibs, then obviously your stop loss is going to be much closer if you're entering kind of in this pocket rather than up here, for example. But totally depends on your trade strategy and everything too. I personally pull my fib a little bit different. I would be pulling it from here, and this is not to say you're wrong because again, fibs can be used a million different ways. I'm just looking for the current swing because, like I said, we had our high, higher high. Here's our higher low. So that's kind of what I'm taking my fib from. But I will give you this. It doesn't line up quite as good. Well, I guess this one lines up real good. The 0.5 lines up pretty good. And really, a fake out. There's nothing wrong with a fake out. That could be good. Yeah, I mean, it's tough to say which way would be the appropriate way in this case. Both of them have some respected and some not. Either way, another thing when I'm looking for some kind of a pullback in the charts and trying to wait for an entry around some of these lower Fibonacci's, for example, something that I like to see is after we've basically closed some candle bodies below the 382, that's where I kind of start to think that we're going to be testing some of these lower fibs. In a very strong trend for Bitcoin, quite often it will just respect the 382 without getting a bigger pullback. So, for example, let's just say we had our swing like this. If it was going to remain a very powerful uptrend, I would have expected it to only kind of pull down to this level and start bouncing and finding support and carrying on from there. The fact that it dropped this 382 and by quite a bit, I mean, I really wouldn't be too surprised to see this lower fib pocket get filled in there. Obviously, the 618, I mean, that's the thing with Fibonacci's. I mean, the price, it can react to any level, and that is why I always say, like, it is more important to be able to react to certain levels rather than being able to predict. This is just one of those cases, I guess, where I'm not just setting blind orders down at this level, for example, but if we got down to this level and it starts to look like we're going to find some support there, the candles just start bouncing at those levels, get some kind of a bullish divergence, double bottom, anything like that in that level, that's where I'd be really interested to enter a long position. Right now, I just think it's a little premature to enter a long just because, like I said, if we lost that level, I just can't help but feel we're going to target these lower levels. Just going to move that a little bit. Yeah, somewhere in there. Yeah, indicator kind of looks like it's agreeing. You know, we got these supply zones, these red boxes it's automatically created. We got the red cloud above us. We have this trend right above the price. We have these W's. So there is a lot of bearish confluence there. What are these? The money flow is red on the oscillator 5. That can be a very powerful little bit of confluence, as well as regular bearish divergence here. So yeah, there's a lot of bearish things going for it as far as a 1 minute chart goes, right? Take it for what it is, just as far as scalping. I'm not going to take one because I'm already in one on PEPE, but yeah, I could see Bitcoin taking a little tumble. But like I said, if we start getting candle bodies closing above this red line and invalidating this lower high here, then I think, you know, at that point we might see a little higher price action. Even if we break this level, I'd still be looking for resistance. Like, you got to be aware of all potential scenarios, right? So even if we break this level, I think it's absolutely possible we just carry on the uptrend. But also watch how it reacts to this level. There's a chance we just form some kind of a double top or a failed break, something with some kind of a bearish divergence. It's always just, especially when, like I said, degen scalping on these short time frames, it's very active trading, right? So yeah, you might be backstepping on your position very quickly. You know, a couple minutes later, you might be doing something different or closing a position, flipping position. That's just a part of scalping. It's not the nice, relaxed swing trade, set it and forget it kind of a thing. It's very much like, well, in the next 5 minutes, things could change drastically. So trying to print a W here. That isn't actually valid until the candle closes. Also, just in case, actually, something I want to mention, if your guys' charts look funny or anything like that, one thing I forgot to mention, make sure you have visual order set to bring to front. If you don't have that, sometimes the candles can look a little funny or the color doesn't fill in right or anything. And then if you right click on your prices over here, scale price chart only. Make sure those two things are done. So we did get this reversal warning, and our previous one was lower, so those are technically trending to the upside. The only thing that I don't like about this, like sometimes I'll pull a bit of a long position on such a setup, so from here up to there. An invalidation is I usually like to use the previous reversal warning signal. So I mean, that's actually quite a far drop. As far as these, I mean, as far as a very degen meme coin, they're quite volatile. So on a 1 minute, yeah, that's actually quite a far invalidation that I would want to use for a stop if I was trying to long there. You could play it a little riskier and let's say just have your stop loss below this green box / my green line, because this is actually a fairly nice support line too as far as PEPE goes. We have 1, 2, 3 absolutely perfect touch points. And you know what? Earlier in this video, I was talking about how quite often a trend line will basically show you just a hint at where the third touch point is going to be. And this is a perfect example. You get those first big wicks. I mean, just draw a random line through there to see what happens. And the price came down and touched it absolutely perfectly. So that's one of those cases where that played out beautifully. But that being said, now that we have 3 touch points on that trend line, if we break it, I mean, I'm going to feel quite confident about this short. As it stands right now, I'm honestly expecting to get stopped out of the rest of it. But if we do end up breaking that support now after those 3 touch points, I think there's absolutely possibility that we drop all the way to the bottom of this green box or even further, right? But few ifs between now and then. The purple, like as in the candle colors, yeah, it's the candle colors are just basically showing a shift in momentum. So purple is, yeah, when it's just kind of, yeah, like you said, a little bit neutral or kind of in the middle. And I do have my candles inverted. That's something I never mentioned before. I do invert my colors just because, as I was talking about, when you see like the ALGO 3, the oscillator 4, the oscillator 5 all lining up with bright flashing green, for example, or bright flashing red, I really like them to line up, and that only happens when you have them inverted. So as you're dropping down, you get the bright green candles, you got the bright green on the oscillator. Oh boy, what have I done here? On the oscillator 5, we had bright green showing up here. We had the bright green candles in my green support box. We never had the bright green like bullish pivots or anything like that on the oscillator 4. But that's just why I like having the colors inverted. To each their own. I've only started doing that, I guess, in the last couple months. Yeah, like on my normal charts, I don't have them inverted, and I never used to do this, but I just started really liking it with these indicators, so. That's just another one of those things too, right? Like, I mean, as I mentioned, we had our higher high, and we had this potential double bottom support box lined up here. And then we start getting these bright green candles, even with a take profit if you were in a short. So just a couple signals there lining up with that double bottom box there. So like if you were scalping, that would have been a good scalp there. I mean, it didn't really go too far or anything, but still might turn into something. I'll stick to my short for now, like I said, until something happens with this yellow line here. I can get rid of this one. Man, it is really just hugging that yellow line, though. I can't help but feel that it's just tapping away and eventually going to break it here. I've actually stopped using the candle colors now. Yeah, I mean, quite often I will flip the colors on and off as well. Like I'll turn my ALGO 3 off and on while I'm looking at chart structure, just because then I find it easier with my normal chart colors to point out like I was showing the structure with the lows, the lower lows, etc. It's just easier to see with the normal colors, but I just love these colors so much. And maybe that's just because I'm a simple person and I like to draw colorful shapes and trade them, but I love these colors. But yeah, sometimes I do turn it off too. If I'm just looking for basic chart structure, I'll kind of flip them off and on. Generally speaking, I like to look at chart structure first, and then I turn on the indicators and start to look for, you know, reversal warnings, divergences, that kind of stuff. It's been kind of slow today. I mean, as far as PEPE goes, I guess Bitcoin did pretty good. That Sunday trading can be a little unpredictable. Bitcoin's trying to find a little bit of support. Might actually, I'm going to set an alert on this line too, just because even if, like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to stream, not a heck of a lot is happening here. But I know Kieran's talked about this quite often in his coaching sessions too, is, you know, if I don't feel like looking at the charts, or if I think I'm going to forget to look at a chart or something, I like to set alerts on things. So, like I said, I'm not going to set a blind order at this level, but I'm interested to see what happens at this level. I don't know if I'd prefer a short or a long at this level yet until I see how candle bodies are closing. But let's say we hit it, my alarm goes, and then we get some kind of a failed break. Hey, maybe it's a good shorting opportunity. But if my alarm goes and I see that candle bodies start closing above this level, then maybe it's time to start thinking about laddering in some longs. And then in that case, just for future reference, because I won't be live if this happens in the future here or whatever, let's say we do get some candle bodies closing above this, then generally what I would like to do, enter some kind of a position. First of all, I'd usually enter a little bit right away, but then I kind of ladder into my position towards my stop loss. So my stop loss would be somewhere below this structure here, because this would be our new higher low as far as this, just the current swing goes, right? If we break this level, we're basically treating it as just this swing starting here and to the upside. So as that stands, this would be our high. If we break this level, we'd have a higher high. This would be our higher low here. So my stop loss would be somewhere below this structure here. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Stop me if I'm not making sense, talking gibberish. We got a slightly lower W there. Right in our, we got a supply box here that the ALGO 3 mapped out. We have that red cloud here. We still are technically in this downtrend swing until we break this red line, so that might be an interesting little signal there. Maybe I will take a little short on Bitcoin. You know what? Fuck it. Just to entertain the masses, I'm just gonna set one on my phone here real quick. And my stop loss, it's not necessarily going. I should have it up above here probably, but I'm just looking for a little scalp, and I'm going off this strategy here, so I'm just basically going to keep my stop loss just above the red cloud. Very tight, very small loss if it happens. Very degen scalp here. Such. Oh yeah. Well, that's gonna show me. Watch, I'll get stopped out immediately. Stop loss is going to be right about there. 641. We'll go. Don't like that it already tried to punch up. Like, really, I should be waiting for a position up at this red line if it happens, and if it doesn't, I should just be waiting patiently. But since I'm on stream here, I just want to get something in there for you guys, but that's probably not the right way to do things. Pepe is still just hugging that line. Nothing exciting happening there. ADA, yeah, it is struggling a little bit still. But once again, not really moving too much, but it is looking weak. Ideally, see the 5-minute oscillator 5 in the red band to take the short. Yeah, absolutely. Like, it is a little early because, yeah, like you said, the oscillator 5 isn't necessarily looking too overbought or anything. The oscillator 4 did have this bearish pivot with the reversal warning here. So, I mean, there is some confluences there calling for a bearish move, but like I said, ideally, a better entry would be up here and seeing how that level's respected with first. But I mean, there is definitely a little bit of merit to taking a swing at this as well. What is the 5-minute looking like? Yeah, I would say I was a little premature there and should have waited till this red line, but whatever. I'll just see what happens. It's a small one. Money flow is still red as well. Did have this little bullish pivot, so there is a little mixed feelings on these indicators right now. Not everything's lining up perfect, so yeah, it's tough to say right now. ADA was probably the one that a guy should have taken a short on. It's looking pretty weak. But what leverage do I use for scalps? Usually for scalps, usually I'm looking at about 20x. Usually I haven't noticed the fees being all too bad when I've been scalping. I guess just because I am so quick to usually close about half my position, a third to a half. Usually it covers the costs of the fees relatively quick. But yeah, if you just keep taking scalps over and over and you're like, oh, I'm just, I'm only going to lose 1 or 2% on this trade and then 1 or 2% on this trade and this trade and this trade. And if I'm right, I'm going to win this much percent. Well, those fees can really add up if you keep losing those smaller trades. Like if I lose this one, I'm going to just sit and wait for an actually, oh, did I even set that alarm? I never did. Once per minute. So that every minute my phone is going to let me know after we hit this level until I pay attention to it. I'm tempted to just close the rest of this just to make sure I lock in profits, especially if it looks like I'm going to lose that Bitcoin trade. Then at least this would cover that. But part of me is really hoping for this further dump. That could be a very juicy move if we end up getting an actual rejection here and breaking this line. I mean, that could really go for a tumble. That could be a nice trade. So I don't really want to close it quite yet. Yeah, I probably already got stopped out of that one. Yeah. So now I'll do the responsible thing and wait for that level I actually wanted to enter at. See what happens with this level. So yeah, like I said, I do like having this confluence of these reversal warnings changing directions like that. Like here, for example, we have we have a higher one, and then we have a lower one, so it looks like they changed directions there. Still ended up biting me in the ass, but that quite often is very strong confluence. Just to show you guys in real time an example, because I know I talk about it quite a bit, but obviously posting pictures after is a little different than doing it live. So yeah, I really do like using the ALGO 3 for that, just helping to point out the trend like that. Even though it's not going to be perfect every time, it's still very good confluence to have. Come on, Pepe, go to 0. Do it. Yeah, this is slow moving here. We might wrap up the stream fairly soon because we have been here for about an hour and a half, and I mean, it sucks because usually right when I turn off the stream is when a volatile move happens, but I don't want to keep you guys here all day if not too much is happening here. Oh. It's a 5 minute looking like here. can take 50% profit or set stop loss to cover fees. So many options. Yeah, honestly, when I get into a position that's winning, I just, like I said, anytime I see a reason for any kind of potential reversal, whether it's a take profit signal, let's say in this case, if I'm in a short, so let's see, we see take profit signal, double bottom, bullish divergences, just kind of anything, a break in structure, I'm just going to be more likely to start taking more profits. So that's where down here, for example, when I was talking about that, I took a third of the position off the table because we got this take profit signal with these bright green candles and everything at my double bottom support level here, because that would have been our higher low once again. High, higher, higher low. So yeah, everything was lining up there that I closed a chunk of my position and let the rest ride there. But yeah, so like I said, if I'm in a winning position, I like to just start scaling out, just slowly taking little chunks off the table. Cover fees, lock in a bit of profits, reduce risk. There's just so many benefits, but then you also don't have that FOMO of, like, I find so many people like to do it all or nothing. Like, oh, should I take profits or not? Well, how about just take half or take a quarter or whatever, right? Kind of meet in the middle, so at least you don't have the full FOMO. You still got a position in, for example, but there's the hope of catching the runners, right? Even when I'm scalping the 1 minute, obviously, ideally, you catch a big running trade. I mean, that's just great, but realistically, when I'm scalping on the 1 minute, I'm probably closing 3/4 of my position relatively quickly, and then just hoping to catch a runner with the rest. You should check the DD indicator. I'm going to do that after this. I'm not going to bring it up right now just because I've never used it, but I'll check that one out. We got to close above that line, but we have those wicks first. So once again, it's just one of those things that it's quite messy. I am going to close more of my position, though, because like I said, this is just one of those things that might be a warning signal that we have broke that structure. I don't like how unclean it is with that wick, those wicks in there, but whatever. I'm going to close another little chunk of my position here. I'm going to close half of what I have still running. On my phone here, and then yeah, then we just see what happens with the rest, because it's still fighting with that level. It's not looking like a strong break of that. Learned a lot today. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, let me know. Do you guys find this helpful? That I kind of show my strategies? I know it's a little different because it's very on the fly, so it's maybe not quite as rehearsed as someone giving actual coaching lessons, but I feel like it's hopefully valuable or helpful if you can see how I'm kind of reacting live with the charts, because like I always say, and I said it earlier today, it's more important to be able to react than predict. Obviously, both are good, but one's significantly more important in my opinion. Awesome. PolX. I haven't looked at PolX in a while. I sold all mine a while back. Where was that? KuCoin. Because, man, I caught a nice run on that a while back. Oh, yeah, that went for a nice little rally again, hey? Yeah, because I was posting with you guys back in the day. I had caught this really nice run on this one. Yeah, it's looking like it's kind of finding that support. That just looks like a beautiful little support flip there. You can see we kind of found support right off the resistance of this level back here. It's kind of funny, these shit coins like this. I mean, this just looks like an entire market cycle. It's just it played out in a matter of a few weeks rather than a few years. But like, what's the percentage here? It probably dropped like 80%. Yeah, well, yeah, pretty damn close. 78, 80%. That's an entire market cycle in a matter of, when did it top out here? Start of April. So a month and a half, that thing dumped 80%. Good old shit coins. That's why they're fun. That's why we love them. But it's very easy to get swept up into the whole, we're going to the moon, it's never coming down. I mean, you see that we get a move like this and then break out and get another move to the upside. Like, what was the percentage on the way up there? I know it was ridiculous. Yeah, like a 400% pump to the upside. It's very easy to put on that astronaut suit and leave reality. And this is one of those things that, you know what, I was already taking profits on my spot position on this one, like down here. As we were breaking up, I was just taking little chunks of profit all the way up. It was spot, so it's a little different. It's a little more relaxed. I could just take profits basically and walk away from it because I didn't care if it went to zero. Well, whatever. It was just a shitcoin fund anyways. Never going very heavily into those not very established coins with low market caps. I think when I got into this one, the market cap was only like 600,000 US or something like that. So when I'm looking at coins like that, very small positions, and it's a boom or bust kind of thing. But yeah, just taking profits along the way, because it can get so easy to get wrapped up in just thinking, this is the new one, this is the coin that's going up 1000x. And then you get that 80% dump over the course of a month. So that's just why I love scaling in and out of positions. Mongs. Yeah, I haven't looked at that one today yet. That was also on Mexi. Yeah, that's spot. Here's perpetuals. Oh boy, let's start zooming in. Let's see here. What do we got going on here? At our low here, obviously, but then we set a lower low here and a lower low here. So the highest point between the two would be about right there. That's kind of the structure that I would want to see Mong break out of for a bullish move to the upside. This is a 4-hour chart. This isn't looking for a scalp or anything. But that would be a nice break in structure if we get above that red line there. Again, low, lower low, lower high. That's the level we want to break. Even if we pull back, like you don't necessarily have to hold that level at that point. Some kind of a pullback, totally natural, but you do have that structure break in that case. Can be a very nice sign. Very good entry sign. And again, that's where you can scale in, right? You take a little bit or buy a little bit at that level and just kind of scale in on the way down towards your invalidation level. But let's get into what we're actually here for, the degen time frames, especially if we're looking at these meme coins. 5-minute chart. Oh, she's pumping. Better keep an eye on this. Yeah, where did this little structure break here? Just looking at the current swing, so it would have started right here. Just looking at that same basic bit of structure, right? We had this little downtrend form here, and this is very micro-analyzing. Just going from our high here down. So we had our low here, had a lower low here. What would be our lower high in that case would be basically this level here. Got our candle body close above right here, and look what happened. Just basic structure analysis right there. Same with here on this previous downtrend here, right? We had our low, lower low, break that level. Yes, we had a pullback, but it was never invalidated. Got that nice pump to the upside. Couple times. So yeah, just understanding basic chart structure like that can go a long ways, you guys.
Smells very, very good.
Yeah, what's it looking like on the 1 minute? Let's hop right into a degen time frame here. So as this stands right now, for example, if we have this high here and a higher high here, our lowest point between the two would be right here. So if we end up closing candle bodies below this level, I would be interested in shorting some kind of a bounce, like get a bounce up towards that invalidation level, find some kind of a double top, whether it's a Fibonacci level, divergences, whatever. But this would be a signal that would have me interested in looking for a short or scaling into one. Yeah, so like right now, I mean, I'm not going to take another position here just because, like I said, I'm already in one and I already did take that very small loss there. But as it stands, I think that's a good sign. The fact that we broke above this red line here, I think that's a good sign. But then you obviously then you want to, as I scalp anyways, then I'm playing it swing by swing, right? So when I'm scalping anyways, I'm playing swing by swing. So as this swing stands right now, we have our high here and we've broke that, so we have a higher high. Our higher low at this point would be this level, so that's kind of the invalidation point I'd be looking at. So if we break that, we might actually be losing that structure again right away. But as it stands right now, this is the support that I would want to see hold. Basically, right now, I would be considering taking along. I am considering taking along still. But like I said, again, it would be a small loss anyways because we do have. Technically, I would be using this as our invalidation just because that could be a change in the swing already. Ideally, what would actually be safer is if you wait for, as the price goes up, you might actually set another higher high. So then all of a sudden you have a high, you have your higher high, and then at that point, this would more so be your higher low if we break this high. Just kind of watching how the chart develops. Like as it stands right now, this is basically my invalidation level. So I would be interested if let's say we got a pullback and we start seeing candles closing green, just showing signs of support along this level. Basically, this little support box. If we start seeing candle bodies closing green in this box, for example, that's where I'd be kind of looking like, hey, this higher low is actually showing signs that it's holding support and it wants to continue to the upside. So if you want it to be a little safer than just entering right now, kind of wait for that pullback and see how it's respected there. The only problem with that is obviously it might not happen, right? But eventually it's going to test some kind of a higher low. So like I said, if right now we set a new one, set a new higher high here in a second, then I would have a new line. Let's just say I would just move this one. Let's just change the color so it's not resistance. But yeah, this isn't valid yet. It's not confirmed because we haven't broke this high. But if we do, then that's kind of the level I'd be looking for that pullback. Just, hey, we're finding support along that level, which is now the confirmed higher low of this swing. Maybe it's time to take a scalp then. Hopefully that makes sense. Let me know if I'm rambling too much and not actually making sense. Like I said, I'm tired and hungover. Man, just hugging that line. Even Mong right now, like, it hasn't technically lost that high or low yet, but it did break this little bit of structure. So, I mean, technically, a short from here, you could have a very tight stop loss just above here. I don't know how much confidence I have in that because, like I said, we're not actually losing this structure. But this could be an early warning sign. That could technically be a short signal there. I'd probably keep my stop loss a little looser and still have it up there. But, yeah, the fact that candle body's actually closing below a level like this is... It carries a lot more weight than just wicking below it. If it was just a wick below this line and then closing candle bodies above here, I would say it's actually more bullish than anything, just looking like a fake out. But as it stands right now with closing below that, yeah, you know, it might take a little pullback here. Whoa!
Whoa.
So you can see what I mean by that break in structure now. I never caught it, but like I said, that was the line to break. Yeah, and there goes the rest of that one. So, yeah, you can see how that break in structure really carries some weight. I mean, that's just, like I said, very basic chart structure like that. We had our low, the lower low, had our lower high there. As soon as we broke that, I mean, look what happened. So if nothing else, hopefully this stream helped you guys see that type of structure a little better. Like I said, I know a lot of people have look at structure a little bit different and like to consider, you know, higher lows or lower lows and stuff like that. Like to consider them before they're actually confirmed. Because like right now, as far as this bigger swing goes now, here, let's just clean things up. Just as another structure lesson here. Obviously we have now our high is here, a higher high here. Well, what's our higher low? It's all the way down here, right? Because that's the lowest point between those two. As far as just the current swing itself goes, we're more so looking at this level. But as far as the bigger range here, this is more so the level you'd be looking at. I guess we all should have taken a big 100x long right when I said right now. Whoops. Hesitated too long. Pass. Did take a 13x long. Nice. Nice. You made more than I did this stream. Congrats. At this rate, I'll have returning guests. Oh, that's awesome. I'm glad. Glad some things I'm saying are helping a few things click in, hopefully. Just in case any of you guys weren't here at the start, for those of you who are here with me right now, I do post these streams to my personal YouTube channel as well, just because you can't always make it, and sometimes people want to go back, see things, maybe catch other strategies I was talking about or whatever. So I do post everything here. For those of you who aren't here with me live right now and are watching this a couple hours later, This is just an example of what you're missing out with the MDX cryptos, private VIP. You get these beautiful indicators. I have a link in my description down below and in the comments. A little bit of a discount on the referral link there. Yeah, we have these live trading sessions, and I'm not the only one. There's other coaches in here, very active community, super helpful community. Someone just informed me in this stream they made 250 US just during this stream by catching things we're talking about and stuff. So that's absolutely awesome. So if you want to be a part of it, absolutely join this community. It's such a solid community to be a part of. With that, I don't know how much longer I want to let this stream run because we're getting closer to a couple hours here and it's going to take a long time to upload. Yeah, this one, like I really think you'd want to see that loss before trying to short that one. Yeah, as it stands right now, I mean, pretty hard to get into a long position now, for example. Also don't want to take a short. But that's where, when you can get these structure breaks, so let's just say, I'm going to leave you guys with a little tip here, is I know sometimes when a market gets trending, it's quite hard to find entries. But quite often that might just be you're looking for too big of a move where, you know, maybe it's still okay to scalp. That's where I like scalping, is because quite often you're still able to find a decent, sensible position, even if the market's already moved in such a way. It really depends how that structure goes. Like I said, after you form a new higher high, you should now have a new confirmed higher low. So just as an example here, like what I would love to see now is, let's say we break above this high here and we set a higher high. And then let's say we drop down just a little bit and then we set another higher high. Well, now we have a nice invalidation point that isn't actually all too far. So it's not like you need to have your stop loss way down here, for example, you know? So it really depends how that market structure forms. But as long as it's trending one way, like you'll see that even on a 1 minute, quite often that trend will not break over the course of even a day or two. If you have a nice breakout on a 4 hour, even a 1 hour chart, you'll see that structure still very well respected on even a 1 minute, a 5 minute chart, whatever. You see those higher highs, which confirm higher lows, and then you can still keep a reasonably tight stop loss if you're going that way. That's just how I like to scalp. Again, none of this is financial advice. I'm just telling you guys what I personally like to do with the charts and what I look at, structure that I like to use. And I know that just kind of helped me a lot when I realized those confirmed levels, confirmed higher lows, for example. It's really a game changer when you get comfortable with reading the structure like that. So that's just, obviously I've been grilling that in pretty hard today, because I think it's one of the most important things you can do with your charting. So yeah. All right, guys, I think I'm basically gonna wrap up the stream here. I'm actually just going to wrap up the stream. I'll still be around to talk if you guys want to chat, ask questions, anything like that. I'll still be around while I'm uploading stuff. But I just want to start uploading because, like I said, this stream's been going for a while, and I think we've covered some good points. And I think that we should just get it uploading so it does, in fact, load today before I go to bed. So, yeah, if you appreciated this videos, guys, for those of you here with me live right now, hopefully you appreciated this. I hope to see you in the next one. For those of you checking this out on my YouTube channel a little later, please do me a favor, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you appreciate being included on these, even if you're a little bit late. You guys know what you have to do if you want to be a part of these lives. So with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.